Good morning.
Hi Jordan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, not too bad.
How's it been
Like
going so far this morning?
we are busy. We're all busy. Like I had two previous workshops, so I just finished that one. Had a 5 minute break, and now I'm into this one. I've made you the co-host now, so maybe you
Let's
can.
test it. Let's test. Um, if I can share my screen.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
is it
I
working?
think yeah, that seems to work fine.
Okay, and it doesn't show my presenter notes or anything? Or the next slide? Because that's what I'm seeing on
Uh,
my screen. Here, I'll send a picture to what I'm seeing and you tell me if it's what you're seeing.
yeah.
Because I haven't done this exactly here. This is not what yours looks like, right? I just WhatsApped you.
There you go. I'm just. So that's how you have it here. So here it appears the full screen, like
Love it. Okay, good. Just the full screen. And then
then you're on to the next slide, and then you know,
okay,
so
great. All right, it's working. It's working. All right, I'll wait to share my screen.
yeah. And
Oh, good. Okay, it looks very nice on your screen. Okay. Um, let me see. Is there a direct link that I can send? My team registered, but a couple of them are messaging me that they don't know where to join. I think I can send them.
I think if you send them this meeting link that you have, they should be able to join it. Also, you can mention the meeting code and
Yes.
there are more people coming in, so I'll just let them in.
Awesome. Good morning to everyone who's joined, or good afternoon. I don't know where everyone is.
It's afternoon in Ireland. Hello and welcome to the Beyond IoT 4.0 Workshop 3.4. I am Fazan from Nimbus Research Center at MTU and I'll be moderating this session. The title for this workshop is New Ideas in a Crowded App Market and will be presented by Jordan Scott from Cobbling. Just a background for Jordan. Jordan is the founder and CEO of Cobble. Now, Cobble is a decision making engine that curates high quality, interesting, fun ideas for couple who are tired of the nightly, what do you want to do tonight conversation. So if you and your partner like an idea and you both swipe right, you are sorted, and you can you are on your way to a night you really need it. Scott is a graduate of New York University and has previously worked at renowned platforms such as CBS This Morning, NBC Network, Cosmopolitan, Yahoo, and Refinery 29. The format for the workshop will be a slideshow followed by a Q&A session. So all the participants, I request that you can please take part throughout the workshop by typing your questions into the chat area. And I'll ask the speaker to answer the questions at the end of the talk. Also, please note that this workshop will be recorded. Now, I'm pleased to welcome our speaker today, and I'll hand it over to Jordan to begin this workshop. So, Jordan.
All right. Thanks so much. I'm going to share my screen here and we'll get started.
Perfect.
All right. All right. Everyone can see everything okay? I will just trust that you can. My name is Jordan Scott. as Faizan told you. And I'm going to just start by getting right into what we've done for the past 6 months. So just to kick it off, we launched our MVP during a pandemic, our application, which I will tell you a lot about. We raised $3.1 million in seed funding, and we grew our team to 15 people entirely remotely. So that's where we are right now, but now I'll get back into how we got here. So first, I'm Jordan. I grew up in Guilderland, New York. It's just right outside of Albany. I went to Guilderland High School, a wonderful public high school. I moved to New York at 17 to go to NYU, which was always my dream school. I created my own major at Gallatin, which is the school within NYU where you can sort of design your own major and take classes in all the different schools. And I studied a combination of journalism, screenwriting, and fiction writing. I just really loved to write. And now, of course, looking back, I think I could have maybe stood to take one Stern business class, but I did not. And then while at NYU, I interned at Cosmo, Refinery, Yahoo, New York One, NBC, really at NYU, because you're just in the heart of every major industry. It's frowned upon to not have an internship every single semester, but it's also, the class schedule really allowed you to take on these great internships, and I took full advantage of that. And I graduated in December 2015, magna cum laude, with a job offer from CBS This Morning. So far, everything going exactly to plan in my life. And of course, that's when I realized I wanted to do something entirely different, and sort of had this moment of realization at CBS that I didn't want anyone else's job at CBS. I didn't want to be on TV. I didn't want to be the executive producer. And I really wanted to try to make something of my own. So I left. And I had a tiny idea, more like a tiny question, which was just, where is the technology for couples? I saw all of these dating apps and all of this technology that helped you find someone that you might want to be with, but I couldn't find anything for once you were in a relationship that helped you, navigate your relationship and how you make decisions together. And of course, I didn't know what exactly I wanted to build. And so the next sort of thought here was, where do I even begin, right? I knew that there was sort of this white space in the market for something for couples to help couples, but I had no idea where I should start. But I did know one thing, and that was how to write. So I started there, and I launched an editorial site called IDK Tonight that was just these curated plans for couples in New York City. So think restaurants and experiences and what to do running around the city. And all I did was launch sort of 3 channels to really grow IDK Tonight. That was Instagram, a website, and a newsletter. And we started growing an audience. My thought was, I don't know what I want to build in terms of tech for couples, but I know that I'm going to need an audience eventually. And so maybe I can start by growing this audience with this content. And when I figure out what I want to build, hopefully these people will be willing to test it and experiment on it with me. And so even though people started really loving the content, it became really clear that where the problem was in how to take action on that content, how to, you might read 100 articles that sound great, all these plans sound amazing, but how do you really drive the action and drive these people towards doing it? And that's where Cobble comes in. So want to start with a little bit of our presentation here, which is, if you're familiar with this conversation of what do you want to do tonight? I don't know, whatever you want is fine. Okay, how about this? I'm not in the mood, or I just had that. Back and forth until, you're both just exhausted and you end up doing the same thing you always do or nothing at all. So as we know, couples resort to the same content sources, right? Yelp, Google, maybe you have a great editorial site that you like, but they're often overwhelming. There's so much and even inaccurate, right? It's like, who's to trust these reviews? And you're texting your partner, you're emailing your partner, you're calling, you're Slacking, you're doing all of this stuff that you're all over the place, sending links, and nothing again really happens. And what we found is that, when you can't make a decision, you can't take action. That's it. So I'll let this video play here.
If you're in a relationship, you know how it is. An intricate weave of two lives, grand plans, routines, day jobs, daydreams, an entire life filled with hopes and fears. Making decisions together isn't always easy, but when you get them right, it's the best feeling in the world. Welcome to Cobble, an app designed to help couples discover more meaningful experiences together. All you have to do is swipe. Every time you both swipe right on something you like, it's a match. But one more thing to look forward to. There's a million things out there, a million things to try, taste, feel, discover, and explore. We don't always know the right decision. What we do know is the best ones are made together. Make more unforgettable decisions with Cobbling.
All right, so hopefully that video played okay. So as you can see in the video, the way that Cobble works is both people have the app, they connect with each other, and when they both swipe right on an idea, whether that's a restaurant or a bar, they match with each other. And from there, we make it really easy to take action on that and follow through on that. We really fill the white space in that you need a combination of things to make someone walk out the door. And that is really great, high quality, engaging content, coupled with the kind of magic of authentic remote decisioning, right? Of course, we're all together even more these days in the pandemic, and I will definitely get to how we launched this going out app during a pandemic, which is of course to say we pivoted and we augmented our content, but I will get there. And of course, the way this started was, fighting or arguing about what we wanted to do out in the world together. And very quickly, we realized this concept of matching on content could be applied to so much more than where you go get dinner. And so, of course, we figured out, we're not going to stop at date night. We really have so much power to help people make decisions in all sorts of facets of their lives. So we sort of started asking ourselves, what flight should we book? What are we watching tonight? These are all the conversations that we have and all, questions we think we can answer with Cobble's technology. And of course, leading to huge partners. So the future verticals are truly limitless, everything from entertainment to travel to shopping to home to baby, couples go through such huge life phases together. And unlike a dating app, where as soon as you match and you delete the app, you found your person, you got the use out of that app. With Cobble, you're with us for a lifetime as you continue to grow together and make more decisions together. So I'm sure a lot of you smart people are asking yourselves, how does this app make money? Well, there's a lot of different options, but something that we're really excited about is sort of this opportunity for revenue share. I think there's an obvious route of getting advertising revenue from something like this, but we're really not interested in that because the quality and the trustworthiness of the platform is paramount in order to keep users sticky. However, things like booking a reservation, buying tickets, transportation, right? Calling your Uber to go out. All of these partnerships can be, funnels for revenue. And the sky is really the limit on our ability for these partnerships, right? We list a few here of reservation systems, subscriptions, products, travel, credit cards, events, retail, of course, is massive. My husband and I are putting in an Amazon order every single night. And instead of him sending me 20 links for whatever it is we're looking for, it'd be great just to, the next 2 swipe rights is the 1 click to buy on Amazon is what I like to think. So the couple is really the unit that collectively makes decisions on what they do, how they spend, where they go. And for the first time, Cobble is engaging both halves of the decision maker, right, through a single touch point. So as soon as you're in a relationship, we found all of our decisions are joint decisions, whether we realize it or not. At least it's a conversation. And how can Cobble be part of that conversation? And this is really the pillar of our success, from acquisition to partnerships to revenue, is this concept. As soon as we convince one person to download Cobble, they do the work of getting their partner on. So it's sort of this 2 birds, 1 stone acquisition strategy. And, again, big picture, when it comes to data, we know everything about the individual, right? Everyone has the Facebook bots and Google bots looking at them and understanding what they're doing, but we don't know the decisions they ultimately make with their partners. So the example I always give is, I love chocolate ice cream. My husband likes coffee ice cream, but we both like vanilla ice cream, and that's what we get. And that's what Cobble will know, is that compromise data. Which makes us, really unique, and gives us the ability to, apply this to future decisions as well. So getting back to doing it all in a pandemic. Well, I think you just saw in just the few slides there that I shared, that's actually real slides from our investor presentation. And we did, 3 major things, as I listed out in the beginning, during this pandemic, which was we launched. And the hardest part about launching something like Cobble was, we had planned to launch in March of 2020 with all of this going out content right as it was starting to warm up in New York and people were excited to go out. And of course, pandemic hits and now nobody's going out. And at first, I really was thinking, okay, we'll just wait until this thing passes and then people will be even hungrier to go out and we'll launch then and it'll be great. But after like a month of waiting, I should say, I realized that we had no idea when this was going to be over and we needed to get this product out and tested. And so what we decided to do was augment our content. As you can see in our slides, we already planned on launching sort of new verticals, right? Decisions beyond date night. And what we did was have our writers curate all of this staying at home content. In 3 weeks, they produced, everything that people should be watching, everything that they should be cooking, any virtual events that were really cool. And we decided to launch and sort of see like, okay, we know there's couples that are bored at home. Let's see sort of what their reaction is to just the basic premise of this app of swiping and matching and connecting. And people really loved it. So that sort of leads me to my next point, which is that we raised during the pandemic. And the 2 sort of biggest tips I can give on that front is, number one, and it sort of supersedes everything else, is you have to be insanely passionate about what it is that you're building. I've heard advice before that you shouldn't be too close to the product or that it's solving your problem too intimately, but I disagree with that. I think if you have the problem and you're speaking to a ton of people who also have the problem, that's pretty great proof that it's a problem that needs to be solved. And your passion really, really comes across when you're speaking to investors. And then the second part is really that proof part, right? Now we had thousands of early users who were swiping thousands and thousands of times on this content. So while maybe not all of the product was ironed out, I don't think a product can ever be fully ironed out. We knew that initial excitement and interest in this concept was there, and we were able to prove that. And then, we had a really super smart team, which, I'm hesitant to even say this because back when I was, first left CBS and I would go to these pitches and hear people pitch and they all were like, look at my dream team. I was so intimidated by that. And what I want to share with everyone here is that if you're insanely passionate, the smart people will come. That's it. I was so worried that I didn't have this person for this role and this person for this role. And how was I going to cultivate this team? And it just happens organically if your passion is there. And then, of course, with raising as well, you need a network. You need at least a couple of people who can first champion what it is that you are doing and building and give you a little bit of that backup. And from there, what happened for us was people got excited. They introduced us to their network and it just happened really quickly. We actually had all of the money committed within just over a month. And it really happened quickly. And finally, we started growing our team during a pandemic, which is pretty wild. Again, not at all how I thought it would go. But most of my team I've only met through Zoom, through our computer screens, and we're unbelievably close, even despite this strange sort of connection. And my recommendation there is, thrill your team the same way that you are trying to thrill your investors and thrill your audience and your users. If your team is excited and feels passionate and feels powerful over this crazy product, they will act that way, and also celebrate ownership, right? When someone feels like they own something, they work stronger and better and harder, and they should be owners, right? This is the very first group of people making this happen. So I feel really strongly about that. Okay, where are we today? We are hiring. This is, we have the money in the bank, and now we're really trying to figure out how to get to product market fit as quickly as possible. We have a lot of huge ideas, and now we just need the right people on the team to make it happen. So we're hiring, people in growth, people in product, people in dev. We're looking for an editorial director. You can see all the jobs on our jobs page on trycobble.com. And I would love if, anyone reached out, or if you know someone who might be perfect for any of our positions, please do let me know. We are preparing for our Series A. They were not kidding when they said as soon as you close run round, you have to start thinking about the next one. We're probably starting conversations this summer, and we hope to have our round closed in 18 to 24 months. We are listening like crazy to our users. What is it that they are telling us verbally, right? They're emailing us, they're DMing us. I'm really lucky, again, to have this very vocal audience because of my previous editorial, IDK Tonight, where now people feel like, okay, they're in it with us. They're testing Cobble, they're having questions, they're telling us when things don't work. And also looking at the data, of course, to see where people are dropping off, why people invite their partners and why they might not invite their partners, and really figuring out what it is we need to do to keep people engaged. And of course, we're growing in every direction possible, vertically, geographically, functionally, team-wise. And we're really excited. We're rolling out, delivery and takeout as being the next big frontier for how people make decisions. We're looking to partner with some different brands exclusively to be our content partners. Geographically, I don't think I get any more message more frequently than, when are you coming to Nashville? When are you coming to Miami? When are you coming to Denver? And so we use that as fuel. It's a little stressful, but we know when we're ready to sort of launch in all of these cities, we'll be able to do it pretty easily with our network of writers. And then of course, functionally, it's just about, how do we continue to ask ourselves, how do we drive action? How do we drive decisions? Every single thing we build in Cobble is with that question in mind. And that's it. That's everything. So I would love to answer any questions you might have. I'll stop sharing my screen, and we can sort of take it from there. But thank you so much. Okay. I don't know if there's some questions.
Let's see if we have some questions in the chat yet.
Let's see.
We have one of the questions from one of the past participant. What are the biggest challenges that you faced while raising capital? Perhaps I think that he wants to know about the funding.
Yeah, and I see a question from Laura as well, but I'll start with the funding question. So biggest challenges I face while funding. I think it's about getting people quickly to understand the value, right? Because if you don't get into the first 2 minutes why this product is so exciting, or what this product really does, people start forming their own opinions and ideas around what it is that you're doing. And if they sort of get the wrong idea of, for example, something that people were really confused about with Cobble was, is this like a Groupon? Is this something where you're knocking on doors to restaurants, to partners and saying like, hey, be on our platform? And that we had to clear up really quickly. This is still an editorial platform in its essence, where we are deciding what is worthy and quality enough to be on the platform. So clearing up things like that. And again, as you pitch more and more and more, you start to see what are the normal sort of questions and confusion that comes up, and you're able to address those things more quickly. I also would say that, again, that first minute is just so important, because if you don't come across as crazy passionate, totally just like the biggest believer in what it is that you're building, it's going to affect the rest of the presentation. Someone said it so perfectly, which is that within that first minute, whoever you're pitching to is deciding whether or not they want to poke holes in everything that you're saying or fill holes and start to say, oh, well, she's going to struggle with that, so maybe I can introduce her to this person, or I actually have the expertise here. And you want to make sure that you have them on the side of like, let's fill holes for her, not, poke holes in all of her arguments. Do you want, Faizan, should I just read the questions in the chat? I'm fine taking them like that.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Laura, how did you overcome the challenges of not having a tech background? Excellent question. And also something that was so stressful to me in the beginning. Everywhere I turned, everyone told me, you either need to court a technical co-founder, or you need to raise really quickly and be able to hire your own tech team. And, that was extremely stressful. I even decided to try to take a couple of online courses to like barely understand Python and some other languages. Here's the thing. It's about, again, being able to share your passion with other people and get them to buy in. And hopefully, you find people who are like, I know things that you don't know, and I want to help you. And that's certainly how I did it. But I have a lot of founder friends who very successful connected with technical co-founders. And, I don't have a co-founder, which comes with its own challenges. However, I feel like most of my team, we all feel like founders, and I really appreciate all of them. Clyde, I hope I'm saying your name right. Thank you, Jordan. Could share how you optimize your time to make sure you prioritize what is important to your business instead of what is urgent. Oh my gosh, time priority is really hard. I personally use Notion as a way to organize everything I need to do. I've created this whole tagging system where I rate its importance from a 1 to a 5. I also put in how long I think something's going to take me. So anything from like a quick and easy task to something that will require a long brainstorm. I sort of tag it all that way. And then, I slot it all into this giant calendar. And, I do that sort of at the beginning of the week and say like, okay, this is what I hope to get done. And then on a day-to-day basis, I actually organize all of those tasks based on like how I'm feeling. So if I feel super overwhelmed and I just want to like knock out quick and easy stuff, I can sort my whole task list by quick and easy, start with those things. And hopefully that gets sort of the ball rolling. And then I'm able to go on to the harder tasks. And then of course there's days where I'm really hyped up on coffee and I'm like, let's just hit the hardest thing, or I'll do like a really intense brainstorming session and I'll start with those things. So, that's sort of how I prioritize. I could be a lot better. We're also growing the team, and I'm really learning how to delegate and figure out how to ask for help on things. And the more brains that are on Cobble, I've just seen the growth happen faster and faster. And I think asking for help is really just the absolute best thing you can do. I've never for a second thought that asking for help makes you look weak or that you don't know how to do something. I'm very open about not knowing how to do most things, and I think it's served me well. Okay, Julia, can you tell more about the seed investment? What did you do and what investors did you get in touch with? Yeah, so I started with friends of friends and our own personal network of I'm very lucky that I come from a family that already had, a toe dipped into angel investing, and I was able to start with those connections. And a lot of friends in the founder community sort of share contacts with each other as well. And I think that like it really is true. You know, cold emailing and cold reaching out is so hard. As soon as you have someone that can connect the two of you, you're able to, you know, just get off on the right foot. And it's really all about who you can just get in front of and speak to. And again, that's where you really have to step up and be clear about how exciting the opportunity is. What factors about your business led your investors to invest in the idea? Oh, this is a good question. I think there's a lot. I mean, clearly, I think, could you tell me a little bit about your product from Evelyn? Yeah, so just as a quick reminder, Cobble in its essence is a decision-making app that we are starting with couples, and we are starting with, you know, what we fight about every night, which is like, what do you want to eat for dinner? What are we watching on Netflix? And the way it works is our team of writers curate all of this excellent content, and on an app, when you and your partner connect, you're on your own devices, an idea comes up, say a recipe or a new thing on Hulu, and you like the idea. You're like, I think I would want to do that. You swipe right. And if your partner also swipes right, you match with each other. And from there, we make it really simple. So I think the ideas around that led our investors to invest because A, they were probably dealing with this issue. They were having arguments with their significant others every night, the same way me and my new husband are, which I say new husband because we just got married on New Year's Eve, not because he's like my seventh husband. But there was that part of like, okay, people could see and understand the problem very clearly. Beyond that, I think that because we augmented our content and pivoted during the pandemic, we really showed our investors that we could be malleable and we could be flexible, and that will always, you know, change and improve the product based on our current situation. And we're never going to sort of try to get this one idea across that we just aren't going to let die. You know, we are going to always figure out what our users want, and we're going to, you know, be able to change on a dime. And we couldn't have proved that easier during the pandemic, where this whole app was built around going out and experiencing the world. And we were able to launch this whole staying in experience and have it be applicable to wherever you were in the home. I think those are all the questions I have at the moment in the chat, but I really appreciate this.
If I may ask, what's the next step for Cobble now? Like, where do you see going yourself from now? Having this app and everything sorted now. What are your plans?
Yeah, we have quite a bit of plans. As I mentioned, we're hiring a lot right now, but all of it is in pursuit of continuing to grow the product and its functionality and its ability to get people to decisions and therefore action. So, you know, we're looking at new cities that we want to build out and build content out. More importantly, we're starting to think about when we're ready to expand beyond couples, right? Your other relationships require decisions as well. We get that. And our power users right now are like, we love it with our boyfriend, with our wife, with whatever. We want to use it with our friends. We want to use it with our family. And we saw this, you know, coming as well down the pipeline, but it's interesting how soon people want to use it with all of their relationships. And so we're developing and designing for that as well now. So that's pretty big. We are on the App Store. Yes, Evelyn, excellent question. Android should be out in mid to late March. And, you know, here's another hiccup that we ran into, which is I was always told start on one platform. We chose iOS and really try to understand what's working and get it to a good point before developing the other platform, which in our case was Android. And of course, something that's unique about Cobble is that in order for it to really be magical and really work is you need both people on the app. And what we were finding was that some people had Android and some people had iOS. And so all of our Android people were so angry and they were knocking on our doors like, where is the app for Android? So of course, once we raised, we tried to get on developing Android as quickly as possible. And it's almost done.
That's great.
Could you spell it? C-O-B-B-L-E, Cobble. Here's a fun background story about why we named it Cobble. And that is, we really wanted a name that sounded like it was spelled. You know, we didn't want to get into a whole thing with like lift where everybody's Googling L-I-F-T instead of L-Y-F-T. And when it came to Cobble, you know, I knew that it would expand beyond couples eventually as well. And so I didn't want to pick a name that was too romantic or too mushy, all of which is not our brand anyways. And so I knew I wanted a word to sort of encompass what was happening on the app, which was, you know, making decisions. And Cobble sort of came up. My husband and I were talking, and he was like, what about Cobble? Because he was imagining like a cobblestone street in New York. And he was like, we're walking down it, we're doing stuff. And I was like, that actually is such like just a cool word, because it's really about cobbling together these plans and cobbling together your lives. And, you know, it's not easy and it's not perfect, but it's happening, right? And you're doing it. So I really loved that. And of course, I want it to be a verb as well. You know, did you cobble it? I cobbled it. As we grow, it's like, it'll hopefully just be part of people's vernacular. And I liked that we could call our users cobblers.
Cobblers.
I thought that that was a little plus.
Put the Instagram link for the Cobble app in the chat.
Oh, awesome.
Curious to you know, go and have a look, guys.
Thank you so much. I'm not sure how much. Oh, we got some time, right? I don't know how. If
we have some people coming in now. Well, let's admit them. Maybe they have some questions. I don't know. Though
yeah.
They missed the concept, I would say.
I know. I go pretty quickly. I figured if anybody has questions, we can spend most of the time talking about that. Did anybody here, I'm just curious, maybe can pop in the chat. Did anyone here, can anyone say if they met their significant other on a dating app or in real life? I would be curious to know how familiar people are with the world of dating apps, even though that's another big misconception about Cobble, is that it's a dating app, which it's not, right? It's very much about post-dating app life.
To be honest, that's the first impression I got. Like, I thought it's a dating app, but then I was looking at the internet and I said, no, this is something different. Like, you know, and I like the idea. Like, you're not into arguments anymore. You have something to agree on. You both swipe right, and now you have to do it.
That's right. That is so right. Just trying to end hangry fights. That's honestly it. Laura, are we just based in the US? Yes, we are just, well, yes and no. I mean, our content is really built out for New York. However, as I mentioned, we did just launch this whole stay in experience. So when you first download the app, you can actually tap the top where it says New York City and switch to being stay in only. And that's where all of that content of what to cook and what to watch and what to do at home, you know, activities, workouts, health and wellness. There's all this really curated great content on there that our team produces, that, you know, no matter where you are in the world, it's applicable. So please do check it out if you're not in New York. And then of course we plan on launching in cities more consciously in the next year.
Questions coming in if you want to.
Could you share some tips on how to hire the right people at the start? Oh, that is something I am figuring out currently. I will say the current team, I feel just insanely lucky because I didn't know what I was doing when I hired the first few people. And I really brought on people who were just like, I love this. I have this skill set. Can I try to do stuff for it? And I was like, yeah, please, I need help. And they've just continued to grow in the roles because they feel such ownership, I think. So the current team is like this perfect little organism. And now I'm figuring out, how do I add in these roles that we clearly need? Again, I think you have to trust your gut. You have to trust your gut. If you feel like just talking, and again, all of this is happening on Zoom, right? All of these interviews are happening in this sort of weird way. And if you feel like you're struggling to communicate or you're struggling to connect in that first interview, I think it's a pretty clear indication that there just isn't a vibe there. And you just, again, trust your gut. And then of course, figure out what you really need before you start interviewing. That's another lesson I think I learned the hard way, is not writing down exactly what skills I need, what I want this person to have in terms of experience. So that as you're interviewing them, you just are like, can you do this? Check. Can you do this? Check. And then of course you need to speak to their references as well, and find out, like, I really believe that past success equals future success. And so if their references can tell us they did this for us, that's a pretty clear indication that they'll be able to repeat that. How do you make money, Evelyn? Yeah, so touched on this a little bit in the presentation, but basically there's a few different facets to how Cobble will make money in the future. So to be totally clear, we are exclusively focusing on getting the user engagement right and growing our user base. And we know that the revenue will come in all sorts of ways as we grow. But to start, the sort of lowest hanging fruit is revenue share, right? People are making reservations, they're buying tickets, they're making recipes, they're clicking play on Netflix. We're driving people towards purchases or towards views or whatever it might be. And so in that regard, we can always sort of take a cut of that revenue. And I like that too, because it's not, charging our user anything more. If they were going to make a dinner reservation, regardless whether it was on Cobble or somewhere else, we should share in that. Some other ways though that we plan on making revenue are larger scale partnerships. So sort of connected to the revenue share. But for example, we link up with Airbnb and we connect with, the 100 best mini getaways from New York City, for example. And when someone, when couples match and they book that Airbnb, we get a cut of that. But that's a deal made with Airbnb at a high level, not, again, sort of hitting the user. And then finally, and the biggest way that we see ourselves being successful is that data that I described, which I know everyone's nervous about data, but the way that we really see us having a power in that way is, we all know everyone's individual data, but we don't know their ultimate decision because they probably make it with someone else and they probably compromised in some sort of way. So another example I give is like, Facebook can target me all day about a Casper mattress. And ultimately, I'm not going to buy that mattress until I discuss it with who I'm sleeping on it with. You know what I mean? So for Casper to be able to reach, both me and Nick in one place at the same time is just so insanely valuable. It's amazing for a group of girlfriends as well. Yeah, Laura, yes. Even, I built this for my own relationship and I'm already like, okay, well, Lexi and I want to watch a movie tonight, like could really use Cobble right now. You start to see it as it becomes very obvious. And that's also why you have to get your product out as quickly as possible, because these realizations will happen really quickly. You'll start to say like, oh my God, this is so clearly perfect for, planning a family vacation or, whatever it is. And so that's another reason why you should just push your product / baby off the cliff and just see what happens to it. What cities and countries do you plan to add? All of them, all of them. And if you're starting a company that you hope is a unicorn, that needs to be your answer. I can't wait until this really is everywhere. And before Nick and I travel to Paris, we can be swiping and matching and booking and planning all before we even set foot in Paris. I think that would be amazing. How can businesses make use of the app, like in decision-making in a team? Oh, Evelyn, amazing question. And I'm really glad you asked that, because I so often describe this as something that you use with your significant other, something that you can use with friends. And I secretly now, from a business owner perspective, am thinking like, oh, wow, it would be really great to use this with your team. Think about how we could use Cobble just in deciding what features we build next. If we see that everyone in the team swiped right, or again, however decision making evolves on Cobble, but to keep it simple, swipes right on this one piece of functionality or this one idea, and we know like, okay, this is something that we have to do. Like everyone is on board with this. How do we make it happen now? And then Cobble really gives the tools of like, okay, as soon as everybody swipes right, it goes into your Asana or your Trello or your Notion, and you know, product manager takes over and makes it happen. Like I think that would be so cool. Or if we're all back in an office eventually, it could be very helpful with like ordering lunch. I think both would be great. It is one stage in design thinking to ideation stage. Absolutely. Absolutely. Even thinking about, you know, just surfacing issues. Like, okay, are people struggling with blank? And then you can just see what everybody responds. And it's like, oh, wow, okay, this is a real problem. We also want to add in the ability for people to add custom cards for their partner or their friends or their colleagues to make a decision on, right? So we could have 20 cards in there that are about questions we have about the company and you know, how people think about things, and have it really be custom to whatever group of users are using it. Let's see, who else do we have in here?
I think we, guys, please ask more questions.
Any other questions? I'll try to think of anything else interesting. I could always share maybe my phone screen and show you Cobble if that's at all interesting.
Yeah, why not? Go ahead.
Let's see what I have been talking about this whole time. Okay, I'm gonna join the Zoom. In the meantime, please do ask questions if you have any. Okay, any other questions? That may be competing with the Doodle app. Absolutely, Evelyn, I've been thinking about that as well in terms of like, you know, what's the current solution for this? Like, how do you figure out what your whole team wants for lunch or whatever, when everyone is free? And Doodle is this, you know, scheduling platform basically. And I do think of Cobble sometimes as just like Doodle times 8 million. It's like, it doesn't have the content, it needs the content, it needs the smart decisioning, it needs to surface it at the right time in front of the right people. But at the end of the day, you know, you're just still finding like agreement and compromise. All right, I am joining on my phone and I will share my screen.
Carl has asked a question. Did you plan elements of your wedding with Cobble?
Oh, Carl. Well, yes and no. So obviously Cobble is not built for planning your wedding yet. I think that is a product all in itself, and I can't wait to launch the wedding vertical because we really could have used it. But I did find a murder mystery game on Cobble that I then made our families play the night before our wedding. And so in that way, Cobble had an impact. It was really fun. If anybody wants the link, I will send it to you. But you know, we did get married on New Year's. We had a big wedding planned for October, and thanks to COVID, you know, we pushed that back and we decided to get mini married just with our immediate family and my maid of honor and my husband's best man. And it was amazing. So don't despair if your wedding has been a casualty of COVID. Okay, let's see. Here is Cobble. So I'll show a couple of features, and yeah, feel free to keep asking questions as we go. So first things first, you're in the app, immediately content comes up. We, again, are all about the curation. So the very first card that came up is one of our famous curated cards, which means we've paired two different things together. In this case, it's a restaurant and a bar in Bushwick. If you want more information about the plan, you can tap or swipe up. You can read the, mini article, so to speak, all about what we recommend, why we're pairing these two places together. You, of course, get the map of the sort of route of the night. And then, when you're ready to make a decision, you can either swipe right if you like it or swipe left. So I'll swipe right. And now next time Nick opens the app, he will be surfaced the cards that I've swiped on already. And, he'll decide which one he likes. So again, you can just keep swiping. We just added all these mini getaways, which I personally am so excited about because everyone wants to get out of the city in some shape or form. So again, we make it really easy to just simply click reserve and we launch you to exactly where you need to go to make it happen. Let's see what else. So as I mentioned, so for any of you who are not in New York, this is the most important part. As you can see on the top where it says Cobble, it also says New York City. And if you just tap on that, you can switch to just showing stay-in activities. So everything you can do at home. So let's do that just to show you. I personally love this. Watching the Queen's Gambit and then actually learning how to play chess, I think would be one very psychologically stimulating weekend. We've got some NSFW stuff on the app, which our users very much like according to the data. So we'll see. Steak and potatoes night, again, being able to find really great recipes. If you want the full recipe, again, you just can click and you get the full recipes. This one's from Bon Appetit. So making sure that we have really high quality partners in everything that we do is super important. And again, if you want to, just see some certain things, you can use the filters. So say I'm just like, okay, we really need to just find something to watch. We hit the TV and movies filter and we can get swiping. And there's always, some really great stuff on here. Another feature that I personally love, so this is the joint calendar. This is where we actually are scheduling things that we plan on doing together. And what's really nice is that, your Cobble work that you do together, or I shouldn't say work, but what you choose to do together in Cobble is in Cobble, and the rest of your life is outside of Cobble. However, Cobble, exports to whatever calendar you personally use, so that you can have the two worlds combined on your outside calendar, but Cobble is where relationship good stuff happens. And one more feature I'll show, and then I would love for you guys to explore the app on your own, is there's a little glowing dot on days that we have things planned. So of course we plan like crazy, and there's always something great on our calendar. But say, we want to do something on February 3rd where there's nothing going on. This feature I absolutely love, which is that you've swiped right on all this stuff. Now just let Cobble do the work. Now just let Cobble tell you what to do. So it's actually going to pull two things that it thinks make sense together. So in this case, it recommends that we order delivery and takeout from Sally's and watch Taxi Driver, which sounds like a great night to me. Sally's is this delicious Caribbean Asian restaurant in Bed-Stuy. And then what I like to do is just keep shuffling until something like really gets me excited. Thanks, Evelyn. Have a good one. Just delicious asparagus side with a Coney Island history archive. Really unique stuff. I'm always surprised by what comes up on Cobble. And finally, this is the couple's profile, where you've got all of your past dates and what you both thought of them. We just made this Mississippi roast. It was delicious. And you've got all of your stats, right? So like all your matches, how many places you've been to, how many plans you've been on. And that's really it. I would love for you guys though to try try using the app on your own and let me know what you guys think. Please feel free to reach out anytime.
Thank you, Jordan, for the outstanding presentation. It was very interesting to hear about your experience and your journey. The slides that you showed us from the phone, gave us a really close look of what Cobble is. I have actually installed the app myself. I told you earlier, but I haven't got a chance to, explore it yet.
Oh, well, thank you for downloading, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hopefully, I should.
If you don't, we got our work cut out for us, but the work is never done.
Right. So let's conclude this presentation. I would like to thank you, and a special thanks to our sponsor for sponsoring this event. Guys, please check out the other workshops taking place, on the event website beyondiot.ie. And you can also visit the main stage and the research stage at any point. Thank you for attending this workshop at Beyond IoT.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.